In the middle of the Arctic Circle, a lone pilot is seen digging into the snow. His uniform bears only one name, Overgaard. From the looks of it, he might be the only survivor of a crash. As he finishes digging, it becomes clear he's carved out a massive SOS sign, a desperate signal for help in this frozen wasteland. His plane had crash-landed days ago, its engine and wings destroyed on impact. Stranded in a brutal, lifeless environment, Overgaard has been doing everything he can to survive while hoping for rescue. To keep himself fed, he set up a fishing system over a frozen lake. 3 holes cut into the ice, rigged with wooden rods and baited lines. It's basic but effective. He stores the fish in a small cooler and rations his meals carefully. After eating, he gathers his supplies and hikes up a nearby ridge, scanning the horizon for any sign of a search team. Each day, he powers up a hand-cranked emergency beacon. A red light means the signal is transmitting. Green would mean someone responded. So far, it's only been red. At night, the cold becomes unbearable. He retreats to the remains of his plane, using it for shelter, conserving energy for another difficult day ahead. One morning, Overgaard heads to a small pile of rocks near the ridge. There, he pauses silently, likely paying his respects to a fallen crewmate buried beneath the stones. Afterward, he works again on the SOS sign, clearing away more snow and stones to make it more visible from the sky. Later, while checking his fishing lines, he notices something troubling. All the hooks are empty. Near one of the holes, he finds a massive paw print, likely a polar bear. Alarmed, he races back to the plane and locks himself inside until he's sure it's safe. Once the threat seems to pass, he climbs the ridge again to send another distress signal. But just like before, no response. Then, in the distance, he spots movement, a massive polar bear prowling through the ice. He retreats once more, trying to rest and preserve energy. Time is running out. His food supply is dwindling, and the cold is unrelenting. Days pass. Still no rescue. Then, finally, it happens. As he turns the crank on his beacon, the light flashes green. Somebody received the signal. Overgaard rushes outside, eyes scanning the horizon, and there it is, a helicopter. He lights a flare, waving it with everything he has. The helicopter sees him and begins to descend, but a violent snowstorm suddenly strikes. The pilot struggles to keep control, but it's too late. The aircraft crashes hard into the ice. Overgaard runs toward the wreckage. One crew member is already dead. Inside, he finds another, still alive, but badly wounded. A deep abdominal gash threatens his life. Overgaard grabs the first aid kit, staples the wound shut, and stops the bleeding. But there's no going anywhere. The storm is too strong. They'll have to ride it out in the wrecked chopper. Hours pass. When the storm finally clears, Overgaard checks the survivor, still breathing. He searches the helicopter and finds climbing rope, an ice axe, and a few cups of instant noodles. After days of eating only fish, it's a small but welcome change. He boils water and eats quickly, but there's no time to waste. He needs to get back to the plane before the next storm hits. Before leaving, Overgaard writes a message on the side of the downed helicopter. 2 survivors heading toward crash site in valley. Please help. Then, gathering everything he can carry, he sets out, pulling the injured survivor behind him across the frozen Arctic, with nothing but grit and hope guiding the way. Overgaard continues guiding the injured survivor, a young woman, back to the wrecked plane. Once inside, he gently asks for her name, but she doesn't understand his language. All she can say is one word, pilot. It's clear she's trying to ask what happened to her fellow crewmate from the helicopter. Overgaard quietly tells her that the pilot didn't survive. He asks her to stay inside and rest while he returns to the crash site to salvage whatever he can. Once she falls asleep, he hikes back through the cold, wind-blown snow. He finds the other crew member's body, now completely buried under fresh snowfall. Like before, he covers the body with snow and places stones over it as a sign of respect. Inside the helicopter, Overgaard searches through the wreckage. He finds a few valuable supplies, a map, a lighter, a small gas tank, and a collapsible stand, which together form a portable stove. He also finds a photo, an image of a happy family. It clearly moves him. He carefully folds it and places it inside his jacket. Continuing his search, he discovers something crucial, a sled. Using it, he hauls the collected gear back to the plane. Once there, he quietly places the photo next to the sleeping woman. It becomes clear this was her family. She and the pilot were married. The child in the photo was theirs. The young woman stays asleep, weak and recovering. Overgaard tends to her wound, applying ointment and carefully cleaning the area. He fires up the portable stove to bring some warmth into the freezing plane and lays out the map. He marks more details, tracking terrain and possible routes. Later, he steps out to check the fishing lines again. To his relief, he's caught a decent-sized fish, enough for a meal. He combines it with some instant noodles to make a hot soup. It's not much, but in the Arctic, it's survival. As the soup finishes cooking, he gently wakes her. She stirs, exhausted. Her grief and shock have left her drained. He offers her the food and softly encourages her to eat. It's going to be all right, he assures her. Days pass. Overgaard keeps transmitting SOS signals, but still, no response. Each night, the woman's cough worsens. She's growing weaker, and it's clear that staying put may no longer be an option. One morning, as Overgaard checks on her again, she reaches out, grabbing his hand. There are no words, but the message is clear. She's grateful. That quiet gesture gives him the strength to keep going. He studies the map again. There's a village days away to the north. There's also a risky shortcut. If they take it, they might make it in time. Determined to try, Overgaard prepares the sled, checking his gear, loading food, rope, and supplies. He wraps the woman in a sleeping bag, carefully shielding her from the cold. Before leaving, he scrawls a message on the plane. 2 survivors heading north need help. He ties the sled to his body, braces against the wind, and starts pulling it into the vast, frozen expanse. But after carefully rechecking the map, he realizes something. The direction is wrong. He's been heading south. Turning back, he corrects the message on the plane and sets off in the right direction, north. The journey is grueling. Snow batters his face. The cold cuts through every layer of clothing. He checks the map again. There's still a long way to go, but he doesn't stop. At one point, he pauses to give the woman some water. She drinks slowly, still barely conscious. He keeps pushing forward. Hours pass. Step by step, the 2 survivors make progress. As night begins to fall, they've reached the halfway mark. But the worst of the Arctic may still be ahead. Realizing they need shelter fast, Overgaard begins digging a shallow cave into the snow. It's the only way they can rest without freezing. Inside, he continues feeding and hydrating the young woman as best he can. Eventually, both fall asleep, hoping the Arctic night won't attract a predator. A new day dawns, but another fierce storm is brewing. Overgaard suits up, adding more layers and covering his face with a mask before venturing out again. Along the way, something catches his eye, a half-buried object sticking out of the snow. At first, he thinks it might belong to another survivor, but as he clears the snow, he realizes it's his own gear, abandoned weeks earlier when he attempted to cross the Arctic alone. Among the items, he finds a small ID card inside a box. It reveals that Overgaard was a member of the Experimental Aircraft Association, a group known for designing and flying custom aircraft. It's likely he had been piloting one of these aircrafts when the harsh Arctic weather forced him to crash land. He doesn't waste time reminiscing. There's no room for self-pity now. With quiet determination, he continues forward. Soon, he reaches the base of a massive mountain, not marked on the map. Instead of turning back, Overgaard uses the pickaxe salvaged from the helicopter to climb it. Reaching the summit, he spots a flat, navigable path on the other side. He attaches the sled to a rope and begins hauling supplies up the slope. The process is grueling. The weight is too much. Despite all efforts, the rope slips from his grip, and the sled crashes down the other side. Overgaard scrambles down after it. It has stopped at the base, but getting it back up is impossible. He has no choice. He'll have to take the longer route around the mountain, making the journey even harder. Later, needing rest and warmth, Overgaard finds a snow-covered rock overhang. He clears the entry with his tools and ducks inside. There, he lights the portable stove with what little gas remains and cooks a portion of fish for the woman. Her condition is worsening, but she manages to eat a little before falling back asleep. Night falls again. Overgaard dozes off, but then hears something. A low, heavy breathing. A predator. He grabs the pickaxe and listens closely, heart pounding. The breathing fades. Maybe it moved on, but then the woman coughs loudly. From outside, there's a roar. A polar bear. It slams against the cave entrance, but the hole is too narrow for its massive body. Still, it claws through the snow, trying to wedge its head inside. Overgaard doesn't hesitate. He lights a flare and waves it toward the entrance, yelling with all his strength. The bright flame and sudden heat startle the bear. With a growl, it backs away and eventually disappears into the darkness. Shaken but alive, Overgaard collapses, trying to convince himself they're safe, for now. The next morning, he steps outside. No tracks, no sign of the bear, but he knows it's only a matter of time before it comes back. They have to move. He straps the woman into the sled once more and pulls forward through the endless white. But then, a blizzard hits. Visibility drops. Snow blinds him. There's no cave this time, no shelter. They can't go on. Overgaard huddles next to her, crawls into the sleeping bag and holds her close, sharing what little body heat he has left. It's a desperate act of survival. The hours crawl by. Eventually, the wind dies down. The sky clears. Overgaard checks his gear. One water bottle is frozen solid. He tucks it inside his jacket, using body heat to thaw it. He readjusts the sled and keeps moving. Soon, the terrain changes. The snow becomes soft and deep, making each step feel like dragging weights. Overgaard struggles to stay upright. Exhausted, he pauses near a rocky ridge and builds a small fire. As it flickers to life, he takes the woman's hand, pressing it in his own, trying to warm her. But she remains unconscious. Her breathing is shallow. Her condition is worsening. He checks her wound. It's infected. Her lips are pale, and there's blood at the corners of her mouth. A wave of dread hits him. She may not make it. Overgaard sits beside her, silent. He doesn't want to admit it, but he knows the truth. If he stays with her, neither of them might survive. But if he goes alone, there's a slim chance one of them can. He wrestles with the decision, then, heart heavy, makes the hardest choice of his life. He wraps her tightly in the sleeping bag, positions her in a safe spot, and leaves a note tucked in her jacket in case anyone finds her. Taking only the essentials, Overgaard presses forward. Hours pass. As he hikes toward a distant ridge, the ground beneath him suddenly gives way. The ice collapses. He falls. Everything goes black. Moments later, Overgaard regains consciousness, his right leg pinned under a heavy boulder. He tries to move. Pain shoots through him. He's trapped, and now, completely alone. The freezing cold bites deeper as Overgaard desperately tries to free his leg. The pain is excruciating, but he pushes through it, clenching his jaw, gritting his teeth, and using every ounce of strength he has left. After several agonizing attempts, his efforts finally pay off. He pulls his leg free from the snow and rocks. But it's badly injured, and moving it sends jolts of pain up his body. Still, Overgaard doesn't stop. He begins crawling, wounded, exhausted, dragging himself out of the pit. Every inch is a struggle, but he eventually finds his way out and back onto the path he had come from. Though his leg is nearly useless, he forces himself forward, back toward the spot where he left the young woman. To his relief and surprise, she's still alive. And somehow, she looks slightly better than before. He speaks to her gently, checking her breathing, her temperature, and her eyes. There's a glimmer of clarity in her gaze. She's not well, but she's hanging on. Overwhelmed, Overgaard breaks down. He kneels beside her and begins to cry, apologizing for even thinking of leaving her behind. His voice trembles as he promises, "I'm not leaving you, not now, not ever. We'll make it." There's no turning back. Despite the worsening injury, despite the exhaustion, he makes up his mind. He'll continue the journey, no matter what it takes. As the hours pass, Overgaard checks her wound again. It's more severe now, more infected than ever. He knows he can't treat it, not properly, but he doesn't give up. He carefully packs snow over it and wraps it with whatever cloth he has left to slow the bleeding. It's not a cure, but it might buy them time. Then, once again, he straps her to the sled, ignoring the sharp pain shooting through his own leg, and begins pulling. The terrain is unforgiving. Eventually, he stops to give her water, one last time. He fills the bottle with snow, hoping to melt it enough to ease her thirst. He drinks a small sip himself, his throat dry and raw. Every breath feels like fire. Then he pulls out the map. There's still so far to go. He presses forward slowly, each step a battle against pain and gravity. His leg can barely support him, but he keeps going, his mind fixed on the promise he made. Finally, he reaches a higher ridge. From here, he surveys the horizon. There's nothing, just snow, ice, silence. And then he sees it. A helicopter, far in the distance, descending. Hope surges in his chest. but he has no voice left to shout. He tries anyway, barely able to make a sound. He waves his arms, pulls the sled, and reaches for the only thing that might get their attention, his last flare. With shaking hands, he lights it and waves it high in the air. The orange flame cuts through the pale sky like a beacon. He swings it desperately, praying they'll see. But the helicopter doesn't stop. It lifts off again, turning away, disappearing into the clouds. Defeated, Overgaard collapses. The flare flickers out beside him. All seems lost. Still, he turns to the woman on the sled. Her eyes remain closed, her breathing shallow. He kneels beside her and whispers, "I'm still here. I'm not leaving." The wind howls across the empty plain. Exhausted beyond measure, Overgaard lays down beside her, wrapping his arms around her sleeping form to keep her warm. His body can't take any more. His mind drifts, and slowly he falls asleep. Then, suddenly, everything changes. A fierce gust of wind blows across the snow, lifting ice and loose cloth into the air. And in the distance, blades slice the sky. The sound grows louder. The helicopter returns, descending rapidly, this time right toward them. Snow swirls everywhere as it touches down just feet away. Rescue has finally come. Overgaard stirs, his eyes fluttering open. He did it. After everything, he survived. Not just for himself, but for someone else. And that made all the difference.